How Katt Williams bought a military base and built a sanctuary for creators. What does it look like when a man goes to war with an entire industry and wins?
Comedian Katt Williams was arrested Wednesday night in Atlanta.
Comedian Katt Williams appeared before a Fulton County judge this morning. He was there to face assault charges related to an incident inside an East Point restaurant.
This fight happened just last week, a fight caught on video.
For nearly a decade, the world watches a comedic genius seem to spiral out of control. The media called him crazy, a crackhead, self-destructive. It looked like a breakdown. But what if it was a battle? And what if, while the world was watching him lose, he had already made his winning move?
I heard that you bought a military base in Alabama.
Yeah, Fort McClellan. Yeah.
While they were calling him crazy, Katt Williams was secretly buying a 90-acre military base, a fortress for creative freedom, a place where young talent could thrive without compromise.
It's going to be one of the greatest things that I personally have ever done.
It was a direct answer to a Hollywood system that demands that you sell your soul for a seat at the table. But the reason he was willing to fight that war has nothing to do with Hollywood. It has everything to do with the first war he ever survived. A war that started not on a stage, but in his own home. It ended with the 13-year-old boy sleeping on a park bench in Florida.
Living in a park in Coconut Grove. Me and my Rottweiler puppy and my suitcase.
He was a child who made a terrifying choice. This is the untold story of the 20-year war you never saw. The story of how the 13-year-old homeless kid from the park bench grew up to build an empire and finally point his cannons directly at the gates of Hollywood.
Are you not afraid about being blackballed again? These are some power people.
These people are not powerful. Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people.
To understand the war Katt Williams was walking into, you have to understand the first system he had to escape, his own home. We need to go back to Dayton, Ohio, to the strict religious household he grew up in. From the outside, it was a world of order and intellect. We're talking about a home that produced a child prodigy who was reading fluently at age 3.
I loved to read. I was voracious.
By 8 years old on missionary trips in Haiti, he was the family's official translator, speaking Creole and French. By 12, he earned a full scholarship to a National Science Academy. But that world had unbreakable rules.
Couldn't live within the religious frameworks of what they had set up.
It was a system designed to create a specific kind of person. And Katt Williams was not that person.
When they would ask me what I wanted to be, I needed to say a doctor or a lawyer, but that's not what I wanted to be.
His reward for his brilliance was a cage. When his parents saw his independent spirit as a threat, they turned his greatest love into a punishment, taking away his books. The two worlds were on a collision course, the brilliant free-thinking son and the rigid, controlling system of his home. It all came to a head in a final violent altercation with his father.
In my father and I's last interaction, somebody could have not made it, and we both understood that was all bad.
This was the moment his home became a prison. It was a specific kind of pain, a unique suffocation that gets seared into you, the feeling of being told that who you are at your very core is wrong. He was faced with the choice, stay and suffocate, or leave and face the world with nothing. He chose freedom, and that single choice would become the defining principle of his entire life, setting him on a collision course with one of the biggest, most powerful systems of control on the planet, Hollywood.
I'm in Hollywood now. I'm finding out most of the shit I thought was real ain't even real.
The 4 years Katt Williams spent homeless after leaving his parents' home forged him in the fire of independence. His only family was a Rottweiler puppy.
Living in a park in Coconut Grove, I was afraid, but I trusted God that it would work out.
He survived by selling magazines and stolen car radios. But every day for 8 hours, he would go to the public library and study.
I would get up and go to the library and study for 8 hours a day to increase my education.
He was building himself from the ground up on his own terms. When he finally started his comedy career, he brought the same independent spirit with him. But Hollywood wasn't the open road. It was a machine with its own set of rules. The struggle began almost immediately. He saw firsthand how the industry treated its most authentic voices. He watched as Bernie Mac, the real comedy king, was disrespected and undermined by a system that was never comfortable with his raw, unapologetic truth.
You on Bernie, and I know the truth.
I went down to his show. He had a lung problem, and they were saying he wasn't feeling good, and they made him work through, like...
Bernie, he's actually going to sit on your lap. No? Okay.
And I left there feeling like they're murdering this dude.
He watched as Dave Chappelle was decapitated by the media.
Dave Chappelle was decapitated in front of us. The fact that a devout Muslim who doesn't eat bacon was accused of being a head. They said that he went to Africa to smoke when we know they don't have running water and food over there.
And then the machine came for him. It all came to a head in the moment that would define his entire career, the ultimate test. A man he considered his brother in comedy, Martin Lawrence, who at the time was one of the biggest comedy stars in the world, asked him to star in Big Mama's House 2. It was a massive opportunity, but there was a catch. The role required him to do the one thing he had built his entire life to resist, to conform to a humiliating industry trope.
Martin tried to put me in my first dress. He tell me, Katt, when I come back, my next movie, it'll be me and you. You know, we get in that office and this fool pull out Big Mama's House 2. I almost died.
It was the same choice he faced at 13, conform or be cast out. He turned it down. He chose integrity, and the system retaliated. Suddenly, the whispers started. Roles that were on his desk would vanish. And then came the ultimate weapon from the Hollywood playbook, the smear campaign. He alleges he was in a meeting with Harvey Weinstein, who made an indecent proposal.
They canceled me for talking about Harvey Weinstein before the thing came out. He offered to my in front of all my people at my agency. What am I supposed to do?
When Katt refused, the consequences were swift. The narrative shifted. The media began to paint the sanest man in the room as a madman. The headlines about his arrests, his onstage meltdowns, and his erratic behavior began to pile up. It was a slow public execution, designed to convince the world that the man speaking the truth was crazy.
They be having these big mansion parties, and then it's a separate party in the little rooms. Is that two kissing?
The world had written him off. For years, it looked like the system had won. He was a punchline, a cautionary tale. But behind the scenes, Katt was holding on to a secret weapon, his unbreakable integrity. It was the same principle forged in the fire of his youth, the very thing they had tried to beat out of him.
I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't a carbon copy of anybody else, even if that meant I wouldn't be as successful.
He wasn't just surviving, he was observing. He was gathering intelligence, and he was waiting. His first major breakthrough, his first taste of vindication came from the most unexpected place, one of the most respected and authentic shows on television, Atlanta. In 2018, Donald Glover cast him in the role of Uncle Willie. The performance was so undeniable, so powerful, that the very same industry that had labeled him crazy was forced to give him a Primetime Emmy Award. It was a stunning victory.
I never was looking for anybody to say good job. I just wanted the people to say it. Then I realized tonight that these are the people.
It was the moment that proved that his talent, his authenticity, and his uncompromising spirit were more powerful than any smear campaign. It was the first sign that the king they had tried to exile was about to reclaim his throne. The Emmy win was the proof of concept, but the Club Shay Shay interview was a checkmate. It was a strategic masterstroke, a 3-hour deposition where he laid out his entire case against the industry in front of 60 million people, and his predictions about figures like Diddy began to come true. The world started to realize he wasn't crazy. He was telling the truth. But this is where the story takes its final, unbelievable turn. While the world was distracted by the headlines, while they were debating his every word, Katt Williams was moving in silence, executing the final phase of a plan he had been developing for years.
Comedian Katt Williams has purchased land in East Central Alabama with designs on making it a new hub of Black-centric filmmaking.
He had secretly secured Mount McClellan, a decommissioned army post in Anderson, Alabama, for a reported $1.5 million. The historic site, known to locals as the Starships, was the foundation of his new Hollywood, a staggering 90-plus acres, 30 concrete buildings, and a mind-boggling 3 million square feet of indoor space. This isn't just a soundstage, it's a city.
It hit the news recently, but I purchased it a couple years back, so we've been working.
It's a self-contained creative ecosystem, but more importantly, it's the physical manifestation of the promise he made to himself as a child. It's a sanctuary where the only rule is the one he never had, the freedom to be yourself. It is the ultimate boss move, a safe haven for creative minds, a place where young talent can thrive without ever having to wear the dress. To truly understand the character of the man building this empire, you have to look at what he does when the cameras are off. While the media was painting him as a madman, he was engaged in a secret parallel mission of radical generosity. The fort is the ultimate systemic solution, but for years he was solving the problem on a personal level. Beanie Siegel told a now legendary story of watching Katt walk through a neighborhood with a briefcase full of cash and give away $200,000, knocking on doors and blessing random people with $10,000 at a time. This wasn't a one-time stunt. Katt has said that every city he tours, he tithes 10% of his earnings directly to the homeless population. He adopted 7 children, not just to give them a home, but to give them the supportive home he never had. This is the human impact. It's the tangible proof that his war on the system was never just about his own career. He was building a firewall for everyone the system had left behind. And the fort is the ultimate expression of that mission, a permanent infrastructure of opportunity. What Katt Williams is doing is bigger than comedy. It's a blueprint for artistic and economic empowerment. He's providing a physical headquarters for a revolution that's already happening. A new wave of creators like Shane Gills, like Theo Vaughn, who are tired of waiting for permission. He sees himself as continuing a long and noble legacy. He's not just fighting for himself, he's fighting for the kings who came before him. He's challenging every creator to stop asking for a seat at the table and start thinking about how they can build their own. At the end of the day, this story begins and ends with a single image: a 13-year-old boy on a park bench in Florida with his dog. Everything that came after, the fame, the arrests, the viral interviews, was just a consequence of the choice he made in that moment. The choice to be free no matter the cost. The world called him crazy, but what they saw as a breakdown was actually a man refusing to break. He refused to play in their world, so he built his own. A world forged in the fire of his youth, built on a foundation of unbreakable integrity. A place once used to train for war, and later to train the pioneering Women's Army Corps, now remade into a sanctuary. This is the story of a man who looked at the Hollywood system with all its rules and compromises, and decided to build his own. Because the biggest boss move you can ever make isn't getting a seat at their table, it's building a new one. If this is the kind of blueprint you believe in, and you want to be a part of a community that celebrates the real hustlers changing the game, do two things for us. Hit that like button and subscribe to Hustlers in the Hood. We're all about highlighting the grind and the wins that make a difference. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.